Okay, so now we're looking at solving two-step equations. And the way you solve an equation, you want to perform inverse operations. So the inverse of addition is subtraction and vice versa. And an inverse of division is multiplication and vice versa. So you want to use those inverse operations. And your goal is to isolate the variable. So in this case, our variable is x. Or you want to get the variable by itself on one side. And so now when you're solving equations, you want to always add or subtract first and then multiply or divide. And so what I like to do, I like to locate whatever is not attached to my variable. So right here, let's look at this one. I have 2x plus 5 equals 11. I have a plus 5, so it's not attached to that variable. And I want to perform the inverse operation to plus 5. So the inverse of addition is subtraction. So I want to subtract 5 from both sides. We want to do the same thing on both sides to keep the equation balanced. My 5 will cancel out on my left-hand side. I bring down 2x. 11 minus 5, bring down my equal sign, equals 6. Now I have 2 times x. The inverse of multiplication is division. So I want to get my variable by itself. So I'm going to divide by the number that is next to my variable. In this case, that is a 2. So I'm dividing both sides by 2. It cancels out on my left-hand side. I'm left with x equals 6 divided by 2. That gives us 3. So x equals 3. And now you can actually self-check this on your own. X equals 3. You can simply plug in 3 for x. So 2 times x. So since x is 3, 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 5 gives me 11. And so that equation does check out. So let's look at this next equation here. Still a two-step equation, but it's set up a little differently. I have my variable on the right-hand side. My goal is to still isolate the variable and do that by performing inverse operations. So just like I did over here, I'm locating what is not attached to my variable. In this case, it is 6. This is a positive 6 because I don't have a negative sign in front. So since this is a positive 6, my inverse would be subtracting 6. So positive 6, inverse is subtracting 6. My 6 cancels out over here. 10 minus 6 is 4. And I bring down this negative 2x. So look at minus and negative as the same thing. So since that's a minus 2x, that's also a negative 2x. And so again, my goal is to get the variable by itself or to isolate my variable. So negative 2 times x. The inverse of that is going to, again, be division. So I want to divide both sides by negative 2. My negative 2 cancels out. In this case, on my right-hand side, I bring down my x. 4 divided by negative 2. X is negative 2. Let's check it. So in this case, I wanted to do order of operations first. So I multiply negative 2 times x. X is negative 2. So negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. Positive 4 plus 6 gives me 10. So that equation checks out as well. Okay, so here I have an equation with parentheses, and I've written it twice because I'm going to solve it 2 separate ways. The first way I'm going to solve it is to do the distributive property, and that is taking a term on the outside and multiplying it by both terms on the inside. So I'm going to do that first. Bring down my 6. Negative 2 times 7 is negative 14. And negative 2 times a negative c. So remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. And that would be a positive 2c. All right. Then I could do my inverse operations. adding 14 because that's a minus 14. 6 plus 14 is 20. Bring down my 2c. 2 times c, inverse is division. Get that c by itself, or my variable by itself. 2 cancels out. 20 divided by 2 is 10. And we could check it. 7 minus 10 will give me negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 2 will give me a positive 6. So now let's solve it a little differently. All right. Since I have parentheses here, I can read this as negative 2 times 7 minus c. And I can perform inverse operations. So the inverse of multiplication is division. So I could start off by actually dividing both sides by negative 2. Because the 2 is being multiplied, I could cancel it out by dividing both sides by negative 2. Cancels out over here. 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. And I bring down what's left, which is 7 minus c. Getting that c by itself, that's a positive 7. Subtract 7. 3 minus 7 is negative 10. I have that minus there, so I want to look at that minus as a negative. Same thing. So negative c or minus c, same thing. And if you don't see a number in front of your variable, that is an understood 1. So we can't just leave this. We still don't have the c by itself because we have that negative there. So to get rid of that negative, if we don't see a number there, our coefficient is a 1. In this case, a negative 1. So I want to divide both sides by a negative 1. My negative 1's cancel out. Negative 10 divided by negative 1 will give me 10. So you can solve this equation with parentheses 2 separate ways. You're going to get the same answer. Just choose the one that you feel more comfortable with, and either way, you're going to get the same answer.